Hi, everyone. Hi. All right. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. After TikTok became a flashpoint in China-US trade war, a new name has entered the geopolitical battlefield, Shein, the Chinese fast fashion giant. This time, the fight isn't in Washington, it's in Europe. So let's switch our attention from US China relations to Europe for a change. Let me begin by asking you this. How would you feel if someone set up a Chinese fast food stand inside a fine French restaurant? Not very appetizing, right? Well, that's exactly how the French feel. Today, let's talk about a fashion story that turned into a political storm. Um, this department store in downtown Paris, where is it? Yeah, here we go. It's called Le BHV Marais. Let me say it the English way. Uh, it's Shein, the Chinese fast fashion giant, opened um, a store, a 1,000 square meter store on the sixth floor of this department store. But the grand opening turned it into chaos. Protesters filled the streets. Police were called in, and within days, the French government froze its operations. So this wasn't just a retail launch, it became a test of values between two worlds: speed versus tradition, cheap versus chic, and China versus France. And it's what I call the red dragon fashion met French resistance. And that's what it really means. So the grand opening took place on November the 5th. On one side, long lines of excited shoppers wrapped around the block, waiting to ride the escalator up to the new store. Actually, I have a picture here. You have people waiting outside. And then, oh, here's a better picture. So on one side, on the left side, you see people waiting. And then on the far across the street, you have protesters also line up the street. And the protesters chanted and waved cards or billboards saying, "Stop exploitation and stop greenwashing." Police were already there before sunrise, and security checked everyone's bag. Inside, the air was tense, as if Fashion Week had collided with a political rally. And actually, just when the door opened, a few activists actually slipped past security, and they went up to the sixth floor, unfurled banners or signs right in front of customers. Anyways, and they were shouting on the street. Um, so to many people in France, Shein isn't just another brand. It's the symbol of everything wrong with globalization. Mass production, low wages, even slave labors, and waste, right? It's disposable fashion. And also it's Chinese power creeping into the heartland of French haute couture. So this protest has been going on for a while. It just didn't happen this week at all. Think about it. Paris is the capital of haute couture. It's the capital of the world's high fashion. You have home of Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton. It's regarded as the sacred ground of high fashion. So for many people, it felt almost it felt insulting to see a Chinese fast food stall opening inside a Michelin restaurant. And that's the analogy. And actually, this wasn't just the only one. This was the first one in Paris. And supposedly by the end of November, 5 more pop-ups were planned inside another iconic French department store chain, the Galleries of Lafayette, across 5 French cities. So this wasn't just about a store. It was a strategic move by Shein to establish itself in the fashion capital of the world before setting its foot in all of Europe. After France, it intends to go into Germany, Spain, and Italy. So it's not just cheap clothes arriving. It's a new business model rewriting the rules of fashion. And for Europe's textile industry, it's an earthquake, without a doubt. Small and mid-sized brands are facing extinction. So as soon as Shein's plan was announced, France erupted. The country was divided by the opening of the store. Government officials, unions, and even BHV's employees all voiced outrage. Paris City Council officially opposed the opening. Critics accused Shein of fueling overconsumption and pollution, running directly against Paris's sustainability pledges. So in October, the department store BHV's staff unions even called for strikes to protest the partnership. And civil society joined in. There's an online petition demanding a halt to Shein's expansion. And this petition collected over 110,000 signatures. And the French textile producers warned of a collapse, and they said that we cannot compete. They cannot compete with the prices that low. So they say that if nothing changes, hundreds of local businesses would vanish within years. So the French government quickly moved. A new ultra-fast fashion bill is on the table. It's called ultra-fast fashion bill. I found the name funny. But anyways, it's on the table. It adds extra taxes and stricter environmental rules for companies like Shein. Whether or not it will slow down the invasion of brands like Shein is not known. So it's still up in the air. Now, to promote the opening, Shein and BHV put up a huge black and white poster showing 2 smiling faces. Here are the protesters. So they put up this poster on the facade of the store. And who are the 2 men? They're the president of BHV's parent company. His name is Frédéric Merlin. And then Donald Tang, Shein's executive chairman. I'll talk about Donald Tang a little later. And the slogan said, "The poster we shouldn't have made." A cheeky, self-aware joke meant to stir attention. But it hit at the worst possible moment because a scandal had just broken. French consumer watchdogs had discovered that Shein's online marketplace was selling illegal and disturbing products from third-party vendors, including so-called childlike sex dolls, priced between 20 euro to 20 euro to 50 euro. I have a picture of the doll, but I really don't want to show it to you because it just doesn't feel right to show that picture. The doll is a very young child dressed in frilly clothes, holding a teddy bear. It just bothers me deeply every time I see that picture. So I would not want to show that to you. And that's not it. Investigators also found weapons, firearms, and large knives, counterfeit goods, and unregulated cosmetics being sold on its website. The discovery outraged the public, and child protection groups are alarmed. Suddenly, that smiling poster that you're looking at looked tone deaf. It's perceived as a provocative gesture rather than a promotion. And then the finance ministry of France responded immediately, ordering a temporary block on Shein's French website. Now, Shein removed the items and apologized and promised stricter oversight, but the French government wasn't done yet. And it pulled the emergency brake. So just one day after the Paris opening, the opening of the store on November the 6th, France froze Shein's operations in the country. All shipments were suspended. Customs officers began inspecting over 200,000 packages arriving from China at Charles de Gaulle Airport, with Finance Minister I think her name is Amélie de Montchalin, with her personally overseeing the checks. The officials said that the contents were, quote, bizarre and alarming. And the finance minister called for an EU-wide investigation, framing the case as a litmus test for Europe's e-commerce future. So the fallout was immediate. With deliveries halted, Shein's French business ground to a stop. Sellers couldn't fulfill orders, shipments were delayed or seized, and it got worse. The Galeries Lafayette, the other retail retail chain, the department store Galeries Lafayette, once a partner, announced that it was cutting all ties with BHV's parent company, canceling all 5 planned Shein openings across France. So what was supposed to be a bold new beginning quickly turned into a full-blown crisis. All right, so now let me talk about the ambition of Shein behind this. Now, the Paris store, which is 1,000 square meters of glass and light, was meant for Shein's European springboard, right? Instead, it has become a case study in Chinese ambition, growing far beyond its capacity to conduct business ethically. So let's take a look at Shein's numbers to size up its ambition and problems. There's a source called Analyzify. So that website says that Shein was the second most downloaded shopping app worldwide in 2024. I think not just shopping, I think in all categories, with around 235 million downloads. Do you know who was number one? Another Chinese e-commerce giant, Temu. Between the two, they had about 780 million combined downloads last year. And in the first half of this year, Shein gained 15.2 million new European users, bringing its total to 145.7 million in Europe. And its biggest markets, the United Kingdom and France. So for example, in 2024, the UK alone brought in 2.8 billion of Shein's 38 billion revenue. So that's a significant share. Just it's global revenue. So in the United Kingdom contributed 2.8 billion out of the 38 billion worldwide. So Europe now accounts for roughly a quarter of Shein's sales, while the United States contributes 28%. Now, the total number of users in the US is not known, but the number is much smaller than the European number. So what that means is the United States have a smaller user base but contributes to a larger share of its market, that means Shein's business in the US is very profitable, right? It's the most profitable in all of its markets. So here's the catch. Behind those dazzling numbers lie a serious problem. That is the company's profitability. So last year, Shein's profit fell almost 40% to about 1 billion, even though its revenue rose 19%. So these numbers are counterintuitive. So think about it. Your revenue grew 19%, yet your profit fell 40%. Something is wrong. It means the company's ambition for expansion is eating away its profits. Also, that's a razor-thin profit margin. Based on 1 billion profit against a 38 billion revenue, that's a 2.6% profit margin. It's very low, right? It's the cost of what many call the barbaric growth. Like other Chinese giants, Shein chases market dominance first and then profit later. I mean, this is the typical Chinese model. Selling dirt cheap to crush competitors, to ruin the market, to disrupt the market. Now, to improve margins, the company has quietly raised prices on a third of its products. And so in this year, in the first quarter, it earned $400 million on a $10 billion in sales. So it lifted its margin to about 4%. It's a small improvement. The question is that enough to offset the loss of business due to hostile regulatory landscape and these reputational crises? So why Europe matters? Well, Shein's logistics mirrors that of Tmu's. They export China's excess capacity and cheap labor through millions of small parcels shipped directly from China. So in 2024, Europe received around 4 billion low-value packages. 80% is from China, and Shein and Temu made up the bulk. So in mid-2025, goods under 150 euros, up until mid-2025, anything under 150 euros entered tax-free. But that loophole has been closed. For 2026, a €2 processing fee per parcel will apply. So this will increase Shein's cost by about 15 to 25% in Europe. So why does Shein fight so hard for Europe? It's because Europe isn't just a market, it's fashion's spiritual home and a test of legitimacy, right? So if Shein can win in Europe, in a region obsessed with ethics, quality, and sustainability, it proves it can win anywhere. So it has doubled down. It has doubled its European ad spending, hired top-tier PR agencies, and placed its first ever store in Paris. But here's a deeper strategic reason, because now the founder of Shein is a Chinese man who never studied or worked outside China. His name is Xu Yangtian, and he is originally from Shandong. He established the company in Nanjing in 2008, but the brand has no presence in mainland China. It was a brand, and when he set up the company, it was very clear that this was a company to serve the global market. It's not for the Chinese market. So its supply chain, business model, and marketing, everything are all designed for Western consumers. now with mounting regulatory pressure in the United States, Europe has become its next frontier. So you all know that the US government under Donald Trump has stopped the, there's a rule called, what do you call that? De minimis rule. I don't know how, if that's the right way to say it, right? Which allowed duty-free imports into the US under $800. So on August 29th, Washington announced the end of that exemption and also imposed a $2 custom processing fee per parcel. So the US sales in the third quarter of 2025, immediately after that rule change, dropped 15%. So facing a slowdown in the most lucrative market, Shein is now banking on Europe to sustain its global growth. And because it needs the growth to stabilize its valuation ahead of its planned IPO. Now, speaking of IPO, we must mention Donald Tong to steer global. Let me give you the picture of Donald Tong. Where is Donald Tong? Here, there he is. I actually happen to know this man, so I laugh every time I mention his name. So he's from Shanghai. He came to the United States when he was 18. He's a Wall Street veteran. He spent 16 years at Bear Stearns, rising to vice chairman before the 2008 financial crisis, when he left, and then when the bank collapsed and was absorbed by JP Morgan Chase. He's a billionaire. So the billionaire financier has been involved in many deals, has represented many Chinese companies in these deals in the financial world. And he has become the executive chairman of Shein, bridging China's manufacturing muscle with Western finance and diplomacy. Actually, the owner, that mysterious owner, Xu, pass the chairmanship of the company to Donald Tong. So now he's the face of the company in Washington, Brussels, and Paris, and beyond. Now, Shein has been preparing for a public listing for several years, but it hasn't been very successful. Originally, it was planned for the US market. Then the regulatory landscape becomes hostile. And then so they went to London. In May this year, market reports said that they obtained approval from the UK's Financial Conduct Authority for its planned London IPO. But then the company's profitability was raised as a big question. So the company has then since told investors that it expects to deliver around $2 billion in net profit in 2025, double from 2023, in an effort to bolster credibility ahead of an IPO. But somehow the London IPO is stalled. And according to recent media coverage, the company is now shifting its focus away from London and is considering a listing in Hong Kong. So if you look at this entire process, that means Shein's chance to raise capital in the West is almost non-existent because of the political landscape. Now let me talk about the owner again. I don't have a picture of him because this man is very, very mysterious, because we don't have a picture of him. We don't know what he looks like. He never appeared in public, right? He's impossible to pin down. Actually, some of the medias show pictures of him. People say that's not him. So in fact, he's the company's biggest secret. His name is Xu. yeah, Shein has never released his photo or biography. So that's, and some employees who have worked at the company for many years do not know what he looks like. They've never met him, but his instincts are razor sharp. Here's the story that caught my attention. When TikTok first came to the scene, Shein was one of its earliest advertisers. In the West, of course. I mean, both were targeting the Western markets, right? TikTok is the Western version of Douyin. So Shein was its earliest advertiser long before others saw TikTok's potential. If you really think about it, that's very interesting. Now, both brands are the center of geopolitical tensions, right? So, but they're helping each other. And it's also said that Shein's staff averaged 28 years old, with 70% joining in just the last 2 years. They're young. And the company's meeting rooms are named after world cities like Hamburg, Lisbon. So it has that global mindset. And the company even keeps track of its employees' zodiac signs. They're not Chinese zodiac signs, Western zodiac signs. And most of these employees are Libras, Virgos, and Leos, all known for a strong eye for beauty. I guess they would hire me because I'm a Libra. Maybe when I need a job, I'll call them. I'll call Donald Tong. Anyways, that's just kidding. No, I would not work there. So at the core of this company's empire is its apparel manufacturing innovation and research center built in 2020. I have a picture of that. Here it is. And this 60,000 square meter facility employs over 1,300 people and is said the heart and soul of the company. It houses a 2,000 square meter training center where the factory partners are trained for sewing, quality control, efficiency, fabric testing, all of that before they are certified to produce for Shein. And this system allows the company to go from concept to sale in as little as 7 days, compared to 2 to 3 weeks for Zara, its main competitor in Europe. So the numbers are staggering, right? This extremely fast process that go from concept to sales within 7 days produced some staggering numbers. So Shein released 1.5 million new styles in a year, roughly 4,000 to 6,000 per day. Could you imagine a company releases 4,000 to 6,000 styles every day? And that's 37 times more than Zara. Each limited batch, I mean, they produce small batches, and then each limited batch creates scarcity, right? Fueling impulse buying. So this test, feedback, iterate loop eliminates overstock risks, maximizes turnover, and keeps the platform constantly fresh. It has created this addictive shopping experience that hooks users. Of course, I mean, the cheap prices is one factor. So, and unlike Amazon, I mean, it's now becoming they have a new strategic direction, which is to expand beyond just being a fashion retailer, online fashion retailer. It has the ambition to become a platform like Amazon or JD.com or Pinduoduo. But unlike Amazon, which avoids production, Shein gets its hands dirty, directly reshaping the factory floor. And that's why its costs are lower, and its speed is fast, is unmatched. But its ambition to become a platform is costly because of the troubles that the third-party retailers have brought, right? The scandals in Europe, the the sex dolls, and then the arms, the illegal products that it's selling on the website. That's all the troubles brought on by the third-party retailers. So people say this its rise isn't just the economic story. It's a new kind of trade war. It's fought with algorithms, not armies. It pits China's hyper-efficient, or quote unquote, I shouldn't say hyper-efficient because it's a copycat, because it copies the latest fashions from the runway and then immediately translate that into affordable products. And this is something that the rest of the world has not been able to replicate. So it is a nightmare for Europe's small and mid-sized fashion houses. It's their existential threat, and not just for Europe, for the rest of the world. It's a terrible situation. So November 5th, 2025 has turned into a cautionary tale. France is facing a decision. I think from what we have seen, the country, its government is drawing a red line, right? Determined to rein in what many now call the unwelcome red dragon of the fashion world. So now I think the fallout of last week's grand opening can cripple Shein's expansion across the continent, and it can set a precedent for tougher scrutiny of global fast fashion platforms. So it could have a rippling effect around the world. So right now, its grand European dream is on pause. Its Paris debut suspended between ambition and backslash. So I think not everything cheap comes without a cost. And cheap Chinese products often carry the highest price of all, the hidden pain and suffering of forced labor, right? And these costs are not measured in money, but in human lives. So from that perspective, these cheap Chinese products are extremely costly. And I have a message for Donald Tong, since I know him. I want to tell him, look, you're a billionaire. Of all the deals and money you can make, why do you pick this one? You know, your work is loved by the CCP, but not respected by the public, by people like us. So please take that to heart. I mean, there are some money that should not be made. So that's what I have for you. I want to mention that for my 5th anniversary program on Thanksgiving Day, I want to focus on the theme wisdom and courage, because that's my tagline. So if you have any ideas that you want to contribute to wisdom and courage, I welcome that. Anything, some writing or some stories you want to share, artwork, music. Yeah, it's about wisdom and courage. So that's that. And also, regarding what's happening inside Zhongnanhai within Beijing, there's so much has been going on. The stories, the rumors, the whispers are all over the places. So the latest is that Madame Xi is fighting with her brother-in-law. So apparently, Madame Xi, or Xi Jinping's wife, is fighting with Xi Jinping's brother, because his brother is making some plans to, or he is making plans to arrange for some young politicians to possibly succeed Xi Jinping. But Madame Xi doesn't like the people he chose. So there is infighting between the in-laws. And I think my release of the video about Madame Xi is timely. So Chris, if you could copy the link of my video from the Looking Glass channel, that will help people. So that's that. Let's see what people have. Not a lot of people are interested in this topic because this is a European topic. It's not US, but it's important because I see it's as important as TikTok. If TikTok is important to you guys, Shein is equally important. That's how I look at it. All right. I don't know how to say your name. Yoha. Wow. They mistook U.S. cultural heritage for France's mistake. Yeah, cultural heritage for France's. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. It's very quiet. People didn't. Okay, here's a question from DDPS. Please share your opinion about the TV movie industry in China. I'm hearing about empty movie theaters and very low viewership due to the wrongful death of Alan Yu. Yes, the China's movie and TV sector has saw some dramatic decline as a result of public boycotting by young people as a result of the wrongful death of Alan Yu. People are so disgusted by everything that's being exposed in the scandal of his murder. I should say his murder, because it went from a suicide to a homicide to murder, and then to the scandal of a death offering, and then now it has the latest rumor that he's killed and his body parts are being put on display at a museum or in a private exhibit in a museum. And then when people digged deeper and they found, I mean, the scandalous nature of his death is beyond words. And so many people are involved, the screenplay writers, the directors, the actors. And some people claim that there's another actor who recently died, and his birthday is October the 1st. He is another young, handsome actor, and his birthday is October 1st, the same birthday as the PRC, right? The PRC was founded on October 1st, 1949. People say that he has died as a result of the superstitious belief by the CCP leaders in death offering. I mean, whatever, ritualistic murder. That's what it is. So, so there's just so many scandals coming out of China about the famous celebrities. So people are just boycotting the movies in general. So people are not going to the movie theaters at all. And it doesn't have to be a movie associated with one of the suspects. It doesn't have to be, just movies in general. People are not going there to see movies at all. And that's terrifying. That's terrifying for the investors. Yeah. What you described is exactly happening. It is true. So his murder is not over yet. It's gonna bring down, because it has the biggest impact on the younger generation, right? I mean, young people follow celebrity news. So his death has the biggest impact on young people in China. And these are the most restless people, uh, or the most, how to say, most prone to social unrests and uprising. And that's why it's the scariest. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Eurobing. Okay. I know my European viewers would love this topic. It is an important topic because fast fashion produces a lot of waste and no accountability. I agree with you. I mean, I admit I'm guilty. During the pandemic, I placed a couple of orders from Shein, but their product are just poor quality. It just, you get it. Well, first of all, about half of the stuff that you get you don't like, and then the question is, do you want to return them because they're really cheap? And then you wear them once or twice and that's it. So it's very wasteful. And then you have these piles of low quality clothes. It's called fast fashion, things that you don't no longer like, that take space in your closet. So I regret it. I'll never buy from them. But I was lured by the cheap price and all these, the great design. I mean, they're great design, but the quality, the craftsmanship is not there. So it's not just the look, and the material is bad, is poor quality. Not only the craftsmanship is terrible, the quality, the fabric. I mean, it makes a difference if you have a dress that's in polyester versus silk. It makes a big difference. So it looks good in the in the picture, but it doesn't look good on you because the material is very cheap. Anyways, I think it's very wasteful. I think we should levy high taxes on these cheap fashion because they're actually hurting our environment. Because what are we going to do with all these cheap fashion, right? They're the most expensive. See, the way we should calculate cost of fashion is not by how much it costs you to buy the piece. It should be based on cost per wear. If you buy a $20 shirt that you're going to wear once versus a $200 shirt that you're going to wear 50 times, the $200 shirt is cheaper because the cost per wear is cheaper. That's how we should look at the cost of fashion. So I think we should ban these fast fashion industry. They're just very, 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 very expensive, for the environment. If people really care about the environment, so we should introduce the concept of cost per wear. If you do that, then a $500 shirt could be the least expensive because you wear it so many times, right? Thank you. Dave M. Well, thank you, Dim. Shein did a pop-up store at a mall near me. Line went around the entire upper level of the mall. You could not see inside until it was your turn to go in. It was like opening a mystery box filled with disappointment. Yeah. I don't think Shein would do well in brick and mortar business. I think it would do well for online because if people, make an effort to go to a store, at least you want to give them some decent clothes to try on. I mean, if they're just cheap, you know, bad quality stuff, what's the point of going to a brick and mortar business? I mean, you want to go to a store to try on something that's nice, right? Otherwise, you would just buy online. So I do not think Shein has a good prospect for its brick and mortar business unless they significantly improve their quality and craftsmanship. But then that's not their branding. So I think it's not wise. Business-wise, it's not wise. But if the company's mission is to destroy its competitors and establish a monopoly in the industry, then it makes sense. It doesn't care. It just needs to be everywhere to be seen. But in terms of business strategy, they're better off, being an online business, not brick and mortar business. So it just defies logic what they're doing in Europe. I mean, other than, being another, BYD, what happened to my internet? Uh-oh. I'm not moving. Is the internet really that bad? This happened again. Anyways, I can talk, but I don't move on the screen. What happened? All right, I see. Brian Cobb, we just finished watching your video about the Russian general on your Looking Glass channel. Excellent. We would like to see more videos about Chinese history. Thank you for your great work. Yeah, it's one of my most satisfying videos. What happened to the internet? I freeze. Okay. Anyways, well, thank you. Yeah, it is a very, very good video that I produced. All right, I'd better end it here because my internet is stuck. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. What happened to my internet? All right, bye.